I've been taking the decision that I was going to cannibalise the tiles from the barn rather than buying it anymore, just for the time being. I had a chance to have a bit more of a look around the barn, um, and I discovered that the apex on one side of it is collapsing. So as you can see in the pictures there, the supports have come away, and currently the only thing that's holding that end of the roof is the purlin, which is running across the horizontal, sort of midway down the roof. And on the other side is where we had lots of holes, and there was a large hole in the floor as well. It had rotted. It obviously been open for decades, or many, at least 12 years, where they'd be getting in, and it had just rotted away the large timbers that were being used as a joist for that first floor level. So I decided to get a bit organised and just made a bit of a temporary floor so that I could access the tiles on the far side, the side that's facing the fields, not facing the house. So what you're currently looking at there is the roof that's totally covered as ever in ivy, and the ivy's just eating away at everything, and the rain, everything's been getting in, and it's in a right old state. So my thoughts are possibly I may have at the end of it, I may have enough tiles to do the elevation that's facing the house in tiles so that it all looks sort of in keeping. And then the opposite side, the side that's facing the fields that nobody's ever going to see, I would do in metal sheeting. Um, the reason for that is there's actually two different, slightly different levels on the roof on that rear elevation. For whatever reason, one roof is pitched slightly deeper than the other, so it doesn't run along on a natural flow. I've no idea why that is, but as you can see, there's lots of holes, and it's a mess. So here's a bit of temporary flooring I just put down so they could get at the tiles and start stripping the tiles off that far side. And you can see part of the hole there where the sizable joists as well that have rotted through. They're not little sort of 6x2s there. There were big chunks of oak that have just been slotted, that have just rotted. And then I've put a tarpaulin up just to try and keep the weather off it a bit for a while, because it's probably going to be sometime late August, early September before I'll actually start attacking the roof of the barn. So it just needs to be so that the tiles are on that side of the tiles that will be cannibalised for the rear roof, so that I can close the rear roof. I reckon I needed about just shy of 300 tiles, and there's hundreds and hundreds on that rear elevation. So I helped myself. And actually, interestingly enough, while I was in the barn, I just moved. It was like an old box, and found this bag of old centimes of francs from back in the day, obviously pre 2000, when France still used the franc. So there's lots and lots of coins there, but it's probably no more than a couple of quid's worth, because if my memory serves me correctly, at the time there was something like 10 francs to the pound. So it's about a tenth the value of a pound. It's about a tenth the value of a euro. So whatever's in there, somebody said you can still take it down the bank, and they'll exchange it for euros. So I'll probably end up doing that, and that'll buy me another cup of coffee. So here's a just short video of the tiles that I've got from the barn, taken downstairs, stacked up and ready to go on to finish off the rear roof. So it'd be quite nice to see that closed up, and that's then it'll be watertight totally. I mean, it should be watertight anyway with the sheeting that's on it, the membrane. But it's always nice to get the tiles finished off, and I did all the cuts as well along the bottom section for the bell cast, so that I just got the angle grinder out and started cutting all those down. So all those are new now, that have gone in right the way across there. All that remains now is the guttering. Excuse me. So is sort of a speed up video of me cracking on with getting these tiles closed up. Um, it's like all these things. It's labour intensive more than anything else. I want you have to go up the stairs to the barn, go across the floor, pick the tiles off, scrape them off because there was a massive moss and stuff. There's more moss on the barn tiles than there were on the house tiles. Scrape all those off, then start carrying them down in groups of sort of 10, 12 or 14. Stack them down, stack some on the trestles, stack some on the walling ready to go. And then you then start carting them up and putting them into place. So they're exactly the same as the house tiles. So there won't be any view of, they won't be looking like there's a repair or anything. They're exactly the same. Obviously, they're all put in at the same time and they've been repaired over the years and everything else. Here I'm just tapping down just folding down the apron, the flexible apron, so you don't get bugs in that wanting to work there, sort of go in there and make their little nests. And that then protects the bottom end of the Velux. So I'd done all the cuts and put them in place just prior to setting the video up. And then I'd taken a couple of my steps away that were in place and just slowly worked my way down to, there you go, I've taken another step off there now. And then all you're going to do is, it's slightly awkward doing it this way, but it's the only way you can do it. It's if you imagine you were doing a repair, so you weren't doing the entire roof, but you'd find there's a little section where some of the tiles had rotted or fallen or cracked. You have to be able to get in and repair and to put the tiles back. So you're not going to take the entire roof off just to do a small repair. So what you do is you slowly fill up the area. So you take the defective tiles and then you'll start to put the new tiles on. And what you have to do is you just have to lift up the tiles that are directly above them, just so that the tile can slide in and the lip can slide over the top of the batten, and then you just sort of ease it back down again, and then like I said, the lip sits on the batten. Obviously it's much easier if they haven't been nailed in. We've done repairs on roofs in the UK for various clients where, and although as a landscaper often we were asked to do things like do extensions and do repairs and do this and that because we were kind of reliable. And more often than not in the UK, every sort of fourth or fifth tile is nailed, and invariably it was always the tile that was nailed that was the one that was damaged. So it used to be a right pain to get out. I used to have a tool. It's more used for slating than it is for tiling, but it's like a long, thin blade, and it's got a couple of hooks either side of it, and it's like a nail puller. So what you do is you could slide that up underneath where the slates were, locate where the nail is, and then drag the nail out using this tool. I'm sure I've still got it, but I've got no idea where it is. It's possibly still in Normandy. It certainly isn't here with me. So another tip from the top. So can you see I'm sort of working my way up? If you start on an angle, then the tile that you're putting in is supported by the tile directly beneath it, and you go up on a diagonal, and you can do that either side just until you get to sort of the final one or two tiles. And you can also play around a little bit because there are various sizes. These tiles aren't uniform, which is one of the nice things about them. They're all sort of higgledy-piggledy of my Hansel and Gretel roof. So you can play around to some are slightly wider than others. So to ensure that you've always got an overlap between each tile, you can, or sometimes you put tiles and then realise maybe you need to take a tile out just to James going by just to reuse a slightly wider tile in its place. And obviously as well, invariably there's going to be some cutting involved. There's going to be a bit of ripping down of the one or two of the tiles just to slot in. If there's a gap of about 25 centimeters, 25 millimeters rather, 2.5 centimeters or an inch. You can kind of slide all the tiles either side of it a little bit closer so that you close up the gaps that way, rather than trying to put a little slither of a tile in, which is more likely to crack than not. So there are ways and means of doing it. And again, these are things that I was taught by a very, very good roofer called Barry Core, who lived over in Sutton, down in Surrey. He used to do he did a lot of roofing for me in the beginning before I took it on myself. And he was a very, 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 very capable roofer. I hope he's still doing well. It's been a long time since I've seen the guy. Okay, so I've taken another step off, and I'm now at the point where I can actually more or less work from the trestles. So it's exciting times, getting nearer and nearer to to closing up. So again, going from right to left, you're going to put one in, and then you put one slightly on top of that on the next level up, and then one on top of that slightly next level up, and they're all helping to support each other as they go. And that way, it's much easier than have you got the tiles when they're really sort of flapping down, because you're going to have to lift them up to take 2 tiles beneath them, because each tile covers a further 2 tiles beneath it. So you only ever see about a third of the tile, and that's the beauty of these tiles and how they manage to keep the rain out, because they're well overlapped, and it's quite a decent gradient on here as well. So I don't foresee any problems at all with rain ingress. Someone asked a question about the Veluxes. Shouldn't they be prouder? When I say prouder, I mean sitting higher than the roof, not proud of themselves. They came with the bracket because they were second hand. They came with the brackets already fitted, but when I looked at them, they looked to be in the lowest sort of setting anyway. So they are, I'd have said, they're a slimmer profile, possibly from maybe Veluxes of the past. And as I've been driving around, I've taken a look at. There's quite a few Veluxes these days which are almost level with the roof. They're very, very slim profile. So maybe it's something that Velux have introduced. I don't know. But there's still a bit of there's still probably 5 centimetre upstand from where the window is to the roof. So again, I don't foresee there being too many problems. And you've got a nice channel all the way around, which will allow water to flow freely. Even if you've got a torrent, you've got the sort of 5 centimetre gap all the way around the sides and the back of the Velux, which means that water can get away very, very quickly because it's just a smooth metal surface. All right, so getting more of the tiles in there, closing up. Yeah, so you see you just lift up the tiles immediately above the tile you're wanting to put in place. And like I said, that will allow you to run the tile in slightly further than it needs to go, but it means that the lip will sit over the batten, and then you just pull it back a little bit and it sits against the batten. So here we are now, we're getting close to the bottom. Again, I kind of start and do this sort of diagonal thing. So I'm putting a tile on where it's already semi-supported, and then the next tile goes on, which is being supported again, and just keep doing that all the way up. And you create you get to a lot of an apex point where you're going to need to put a tile in or a cut of a tile, or you're going to have to slide the tiles around a little bit to close up the gaps. So it took, although obviously I would have saved a good maybe 100 tiles per Velux, because there were no roof windows on the rear roof when I did it. I still had to take just shy of 300 tiles from the barn roof to finish this, which shows just how many damage there were. So you can say there were probably a good 600-700 tiles damaged from a roof that was holding about 3,800 tiles. So it's good to see all those damaged tiles gone now, and there's one or two with sort of corners gone, lots like corners gone, but they tend to be, I think that's just damage where they were put in a little bit too tightly to begin with, and most of those are the harder cooked tiles, which are more purple in colour. So don't foresee there being too many problems with those in the months and years to come. So again, I'm just running through some. I think I'm marking off for some cuts now to get the grinder and cut those down in preparation for putting them in. I don't like to put it in smaller than normally, about a half a tile. I think anything less than that, you're kind of asking for trouble. And anything less than that, like I say, ordinarily, you can close up the roof by just sliding the tiles ever so slightly left and right. So you got the dust there from where I've been cutting. And that, so you got, there's probably that's about half a tile width going in there, and there's another one there. And then taking off the penultimate step, the second from final one. So they will be reused on the front roof. The front roof's got a slightly steeper pitch, so they'll be even more useful on the front roof. And the front roof isn't as large as this, and there's only one roof window going in. So hopefully that will go swimmingly as well. And obviously there'll be videos of that to show you. Just another shout out again. Just wanted to say thanks ever so much, as the few people have supported me by buying me a coffee. It's very, very generous. I won't actually be using that money for anything as such. What I'll do is I'll leave it as an amount, and then depending on where we get to at the end of the renovation, I'll probably look to do something specific with that, so that I can say thank you. This is where your money went, rather than it just being used on nothing at all as such. So thanks ever so much for those people that have bought me a coffee. It'll be going to a good thing. So we'll do something really nice at the end. So getting back to the roof, final few 6-7 courses now. Getting it done. It's very satisfying to know that you're near the end, because it's been three and a bit weeks of very, very hard work. I'll be honest with you. At my age, it's not an easy thing to keep climbing up and down steps and very thin batten. But anyway, it's done, and the larger side of the roof has been done. So I'm very, very pleased. And that's it. So let's have a look at it now. So there's a few rafters there just to cut down, which I'll do later on. I just wanted to get the roof finished as such. I still need to organise the guttering and get that in place, because if we do have more downpours, it's going to be a problem by the back door. But there it is. So I'm very, very pleased with the overall look. It's got a charm all of its own, and you wouldn't be able to tell where the tiles are that came from the barn, because like I said, they're all exactly the same. So it's got a terrific character to it, as a lot of the houses in and around this area. There's some beautiful roofs, and it's amazing to think that these tiles have stood the test of time for a good 100 or so years, and maybe they'll do another 100 years. And then at one time, maybe there'll be an old renovator in the future that'll be doing videos on look at this roof I'm taking apart, and talking about who put the Veluxes in and all the rest of it. One for the future. I won't be around to see that, but it'd be interesting to see. It may be interesting to know who ends up being over the years and years, who will take residence of the house. It's nice. It's nice to do things where you can rejuvenate. It's a terrific house. It's a terrific area. Lovely people around you, and it's a real pleasure. It's a real pleasure doing it, and it's a real pleasure sharing it with all you nice people out there in the YouTube world. If you got any further questions or any comments, or any further advice you'd like to offer, I'm always happy to hear your comments and stuff. And thanks as ever for all your support. It really means a lot. It's helped me keep going at times, and I've just been so knackered. I've just wanted to sort of take a bit. I thought, no, I've got to crack on. I've got to crack on. So it's good from that. Anyway, thanks ever so much, and look forward to seeing you when we start the front roof. Bye for now.